What is back here, and in today's video I'm coming at you guys with the most highly requested video of all time on my channel. I get comments for it to make it all the time on all my videos, and that's how I'm keeping a porcupine pufferfish in my reef tank, because supposedly they're not reef safe. They eat the coral, they eat the inverts, they bother everything inside of a reef tank. I'm about to prove you guys why I personally think that's false, and I'm just gonna be sharing my opinions and my key things to look for when purchasing one of these fish, if you're willing to purchase one of these fish for your reef tank. So hopefully I can convince some of you guys that these fish are reef safe. Now, before I start this video, guys, I realize that there are a lot of horror stories with pufferfish and coral and inverts. I'm not trying to go against those. I'm just showing you guys that it is possible to keep porcupine pufferfish in a reef tank. There are a lot of people that say they're not reef safe and all that stuff. Well, I'm gonna try to prove to you guys that it is possible to keep one of these guys successfully with coral. Now, a lot of you guys who have been following my channel over the past couple weeks, couple months, you realize that a lot of the coral has died off due to the tank crash that I had previously. You don't see a lot of more coral in my tank right now. I have a few leather corals. I'm building it back up, so I don't have a full mix of SPS corals like I did at one point. So I wanted to share this footage with you guys. It's probably from a year ago, last summer, when I had all the SPS corals, all the Ophelia, all the LPS leather corals, and there's my pufferfish living perfectly in here with everything, especially SPS. That's one of the ones that are known to target by some people. But I just wanted to show you guys this footage. He was a little bit smaller back then. He was probably about 3 or 4 inches. Hadn't had him for too long. He was a very juvenile pufferfish, but he was living perfectly with all those different types of corals. Fully blown reef tank. He was doing just fine. So here's a little clip back to when the reef tank was at its finest. So I'm going to start you guys off on why I even got the idea to try one of these guys in a fully blown reef tank. So I used to work at a fish store. That was my main job. So a guy came in, we were talking about the tanks. He had the same size tank as me. He had a fully blown like SPS, all kinds of crazy reef tank. I was like, he was looking for fish to buy. I was like, what kind of fish you got right now? He said, he told me a whole list of fish, and he's like, I got a baby porcupine puffer in my reef tank. I'm like, what? How are you getting away with that, man? I gotta hear the story. And he's like, well, the key is I bought him as a juvenile, and I kept him on a steady and sustained diet, and he grew with my reef tank. I was like, that's interesting. He's like, man, you gotta try it. You need it. Because I've always wanted one of these pufferfish. I've always wanted a pufferfish, but I've always thought, like you guys, that they're not reef safe. But this guy convinced me that you can keep porcupine pufferfish in a reef tank. I was like, man, I gotta try this. So I went out. I knew one of the fish stores around me had juveniles. He had baby porcupine pufferfish. He had a bunch of them. So I took the risk. Big risk. I thought it was a big risk. Just like buying an angelfish for a reef tank. It's like, I'm gonna take the risk, I'm gonna try it. You know, if you can't catch them, or if things go wrong, things go terribly wrong, he attacks coral, he attacks inverts, they're very slow fish, you could just net them out and take them back to the store. So I was willing to take the risk, and I bought one. So I've had this guy probably for 2 years now, never had one single problem with him bothering any coral or any inverts or any other fish. So right now, guys, I'm gonna go through the key facts and things to look for when buying one of these guys for your tank, if you're willing to take the risk, which I don't think is a huge risk. So the very first and most important thing to look for when buying one of these guys is you must, I I wouldn't go against this. You must buy them as juveniles. You have to buy them as babies. Believe me, they're not the easiest fish to find as juveniles, but you can. And if you go to your fish store, ask them, hey, can you get some baby porcupine pufferfish in? They probably can. It was not easy. It was not hard to find them when I was looking for them, and I don't think it would be very hard for you guys, but you have to buy them as babies. I bought mine. He was probably about 3 inches long. The key is buying them as babies because they don't know any better. You know, you gotta, and then when you get them as a baby, throw them in your tank with a bunch of coral, a bunch of inverts, everything. You probably won't look or even think about eating any of those things in your reef tank. That brings me to the second thing with these guys. When you buy them as juveniles, it's very easy to get them to start eating. They're gluttonous fish, these pufferfish. So when you get these baby porcupine pufferfish, train them on a steady diet and feed them separately after you feed your other fish. They require bigger foods. They like to eat a lot. So what I do and how I train this guy on his diet, you feed the other fish first. You feed the smaller fish. You throw in your mysis, shrimp. You finish feeding all those guys. Do a big feeding on all your other fish. And then go at the bigger pufferfish separately. Feed them tweezers or tongs or something. Feed them krill, feed them silver sides, feed them large mysis shrimp. It doesn't matter. Just train them and let them know that they're gonna be fed separately after you feed the small food to the other fish. So after you finish spraying the mysis shrimp and everything, have a separate cup full of like krill, silver sides, big mysis shrimp. Get your tweezers, feed them, dangle it in the tank, let this guy eat on his own separately from the other fish. If you do that, they know they're gonna get fed and they know they're gonna be full after you feed the other fish. And he won't have to target or look for other food after you're done feeding the fish. He won't be starving, he won't be looking and targeting other inverts or other coral. And that's how I think I got so lucky with this guy. You gotta feed him a lot, you gotta keep him full. They can't really get hungry. I feed this guy once a day. Feed him once a day with the other fish, but you gotta feed him separately and you gotta feed him those bigger foods. They need silver sides, they need krill, and they need bigger mysis shrimp. Just any bigger food to fill them up so they're not hungry, they're not searching the tank to look for anything to eat. So that's a huge thing. Buy them as juveniles and feed them separately from the other fish. Get them on a key sustained diet of larger foods. Another huge and I believe overlooked feature of these fish, of these specifically, not all pufferfish, but specifically the porcupine pufferfish, is that their teeth, another reason I think they're reef safe, is because their teeth are set back in their mouth, almost in their throat. They have like crushing palate teeth inside of their mouth. They don't have a beak like dog-faced pufferfish, stars and stripes puffers. Those are completely not reef safe. But these guys don't have a beak in the front of the mouth, so they don't need to constantly file down their teeth, chewing on coral and chewing on shrimp and stuff like that. They don't need to file down their teeth. So they can eat separate foods and they will not look for different things to file down their teeth with because they don't have that big beak out in front. So they won't be, honestly, if you ask me, a lot of people probably give me hate for this. I don't even know how this guy would chew on hard corals, honestly. I don't know how he would break off SPS corals or LPS corals. You know, I could see soft corals, but he doesn't have any teeth in the front of his mouth to break the coral off. But, you know, that's just me. That's a feature on these fish, why I think that they're not really gonna target coral or inverts as food. Because they don't have the big beak out in front, they don't need to file down their teeth like other pufferfish. And pretty much the last reason that I believe these guys can be reef safe in a reef tank is because of the personality of them. They're really not like other fish. I don't find them to be aggressive whatsoever. They keep to themselves. They're kind of lazy, and they're very personable fish. You know, throughout the day with this guy, he lays in the rocks. He doesn't do too much. You know, the only reason I'm out right here is because I'm holding food out in the front of the tank to get him out during the video. But usually they're just sitting around all day. He really only comes out later on when the lights turn blue, because that's when he knows he's gonna get fed. But pretty much throughout the day they keep to themselves, lay around in the rocks, mope around. He's not always swimming out in the open looking for food, stuff like that during the day. And they could care less. This guy and the triggerfish could care less about any other fish in the tank. They do not care. They do not socialize with the other fish. They only care about when you come to the tank and when you feed them. That's pretty much it. That's why they have so much personality. Everybody calls them the dogs of the saltwater world. It's because of their personality, you know. They don't have an aggressive personality, at least mine doesn't, and they don't care about other fish. They don't care about inverts. They don't really care about anything. You know, they only care about eating. That's pretty much it. And that, guys, pretty much wraps it up. You know, I have a few simple things to look for if you're willing to buy one of these guys and try them out in your reef tank. Everybody always sees me and this guy in the reef tank. I'm always like, this is by far, like, pretty much my favorite fish in the tank. Just an amazing fish to keep. Awesome personality, super fun to have. They don't grow very fast. You know, I'm gonna be making a care guide after this video, going over all the care tips and how these guys are. They don't grow very fast. You know, they're super easy fish to keep. And if you follow those steps I said, I'm gonna go over them again right now. Buy them as juveniles. Keep them on a steady and sustained diet of larger foods after you feed the other fish. You have to feed them separately from the other fish. And keep in mind their teeth. They don't have the big beak out in front that they got to keep filed down like other puffer fish. And you know, their personality. They could give a crap about the other fish or anything else in the tank. They really, when it comes down to it, all these guys really care about is eating. That's it. You know, so if you guys follow those, I think anybody can have easy success keeping these guys with any coral, any invert, without a problem, just like I have. I might have got lucky, but these are my opinions, and I think if you guys are willing to take the risk with the juvenile porcupine pufferfish, go for it. If you guys have always wanted one of these and have a larger tank, go for it. These guys are awesome fish, and I think you guys can have a lot of success with them. So, as always, thank you guys for watching. If you guys want to see care guides on fish, link after this video. And thank you guys for watching. Turn on notifications, and I'll see you next time.